Hey guys, welcome to the woods. Well, I feel like yesterday I felt like I was a gunman on an airplane going dut, 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 and I was just like shooting ideas and thoughts and coming at you 100 miles an hour and none of them really explained. And anyway, so I just thought, I think I'd like to hit on some of those points today and slow it down a little bit and maybe not try to develop so many of them all at the same time in examples and whatever else I was doing. But anyway, I got my headphones on again. Hopefully I don't strangle myself, because you know I like to talk with my hands. And but anyway, it's been really windy today, which I'm thankful for because it's a little bit hot. All right, so what did I want to try to get across yesterday? I was trying to, well, let me tell you what gave me a little bit of frustration. I just see a lot of meeting scenarios where decisions need to be made and how businesses are going to run and how family dynamics are going to work out. Wherever there's a group of people, it seems like the person who's got the most fear is the one coming at everybody with, here's the facts of what's wrong, here's the facts of what's going on, here's how bad it's going to get, here's what's going to come, well, here's what's coming that we don't see that's going to be bad, here's the other bad thing, and by the way, I've got some of my own personal bad things, and this one and this one. And it's just like, how do you stop that train of what's going wrong? Because then the whole room, everyone in the room kind of has that same, they get pulled down that defending what's not going wrong. Maybe that's not going to go wrong. And we all know when, we've all been in that situation sometimes, but it's very tough to talk somebody out of that. It's like, once you're in that funk, fear vibration, then everything around you, you'll pull the bad out of every vibration, every situation you see around you, so that you could just talk your way out of problems till the end of time. But if the person can rise a little bit and get a little sense of like, okay, let's just say that the all-knowing God source collective consciousness doesn't have an agenda to take this problem away from us. It's like, no, this is part of this. What they say is that everything comes to us for our growth, our enlightenment. All things are good. Everything's perfect. It's like, well, you can't tell me people are supposed to be dying and this and that. God doesn't want people dying. Well, apparently he does, because everybody does. But it's not that wants people dying. It's just like, you got to have a change. We need to maybe, it's an interrupter. We've got an interruption going on right now in our lives. And anytime there's a big interruption, I've seen it so many times in my life that I've gotten sort of trained to do this, and I'm sure a lot of other people have as well. But you get a bad situation when you're young, and it's like, it just ruins your whole world, and it's a long time before you can look back and say, you know what, maybe that was good. It's like, well, hopefully people would tell you that. It's like, you don't feel it now, but at some point in time you'll say, you know what, that was probably a good thing. We needed to get off the train we were on, and it needed to break down, and we needed to start walking for a minute and collect our thoughts and regroup and restructure how we run our society and things like that. But I feel like, you're going back to this analogy of, you got a group of people together and one person has got a really deep, heavy fear vibration going. You can try to talk them out of it for a minute, like, oh, can we all sort of not focus on what's going wrong and focus on what's going right, and that sort of scenario. But if they're not wanting to go there, you're sort of done, unless you can squelch that energy, or, it just takes a lot of energy to pull somebody out of that. Now, you might say, well, we should all help that person, but right now there's so much going on that it's very difficult to try to focus on the person who's been very comfortable jumping into the funky fear vibration and never had a past situation that they've looked back at and said, oh, you know what, that was a good thing that happened. It was positive. I didn't like it at the time, but I see now that it was for my own good. And if they've never done that, then what are the chances you're going to fix them on this go-round with this problem? This is a big one. It's not, sort of worldwide change, if nothing else. And so I guess what I want to say is, I wanted to yesterday, and more calmly, slowly now, say that I want to give people permission to let the other person in the room just be quiet for a minute while we go to a more positive view. I can't fix all the people with the negative views, and I can't talk you out of everything being bad. I can't take your data and your stats and your proof that things are going wrong and turn that around for you. I can't do it. This isn't the time to do it. But it is an important thing that you're going to need to learn. So I guess that makes it a little bit tricky, because you're going to get, I guess I had this vision while I was sort of walking in the trails, sort of see if this one works for you guys. But sort of like if you're in a mudslide, fear kind of comes at you like a mudslide. It's like the whole side of the hill's going down. And you might grab onto a tree, and the tree starts coming down with you, and you're just always grabbing onto things. And if you're just envisioning how terrible this is and how bad this is, that mudslide is just going to keep coming and take you with it. And so one of the things to do, I don't know if this is really what you do in a mudslide, I've never been in one, but I'm suggesting that you just let go. Ride it out. Stay on top of the mud pile at least, And what'll happen is once you're like okay with it, like, okay, we're just going to ride out this mudslide, you start looking ahead, like, where could I get some relief? What could I grab onto? What's not being sucked in by the mudslide? How would I work out my exit strategy? How is this going to be better at the bottom? How is the landscape going to be improved by this? You got to be thinking positive so your mind can work. You can't be in that fear mode, fight or flight, because it's going to take its toll on your body and your mind and everyone else's too. So if I'm in that mudslide, by contrast, to be in that inspired, this is a point I want to make too, that it's very difficult to stay in that inspired love version of things. So that's why I recommend just turn away from TV and everybody's data about what's going wrong. Okay? And just give it time. Those, I know there's people that are working in this environment, the hospitals and things like that, and anyone who's dealing with the general public is dealing with this. I don't care if you're in a board meeting at a company. It's still the same struggle of there's some people in the room who are hell-bent on convincing everybody that this is Armageddon and what are we going to do and how do we save ourselves. And then there's some people in the room who are inspired and say, it's not about saving ourselves, it's about recreating ourselves. It's about renewing our commitment to seeing the positive in the scenarios coming around and integrating with the supposedly bad things that are around us on this planet. And there's difficulties. I'm not saying there's not difficulties, but we don't do ourselves any service by feeling like there's an outside source other than us, that there's someone else there's another person on the planet other than what we would call life. It's all life, and it's all here, and we have to learn to work together, and this is part of it. Viruses are part of it. So, we've figured out how to create, vaccines and stuff like that, and that's all good, and that's inspired from God's source. He gives us the tools and the medicines, and all these things are good. But I just would encourage us not to spend so much energy trying to convince the one or two people in the room who are so bent on making all the conversation be about what's going wrong, and none of the conversation about what do we want to use this interruption for? What do we want to create? How do we want to redefine our world? How do we want to redefine how we act in the world? How do I want to redefine the ability to follow that slight breeze as opposed to the feeling of going down the hill in a mudslide? The whisper of love and perfection and guidance is very, very subtle. And you got to be sensitive to it. And you got to turn off all that powerful, high energy fear stuff and fear language. And this process of calming yourself down and listening to that quiet voice in your mind about what's going right, as opposed to the thousands of people around you telling you what's going wrong, is tricky. So I feel like I just want to be here to be one person to say, just keep going within, let go, don't worry about, you're not going to end this interruption on the planet. It's got to ride its course. It's not going to ride a whole lot longer. It's going to go just like it came. That's something for sure. I always feel like I go to the people who are connected to source and can speak about the potential positive things and the rightness of what's going on around us and the perfection of everything and all that type of stuff. And so I find channels and that sort of stuff very useful. I know it scares a lot of people, but again, I feel like I just want to be the one person to say, you know what? I don't know why they're so outcast when, in my opinion, that's my best place to get true information about what's going on. It's the first place I went when the coronavirus hit and started coming. I'm like, okay, I get a sense of what's going on. I see the big picture. I'm going to leave it alone. It's back to the spiritual game, because the spiritual game is all that these interrupters, that's all I call it, it's an interrupter for sure, is here for. It's always here to enlighten us and to get us to go within, connect to source, connect to the God, Christ consciousness, however you want to view it, your soul, your light of divinity, has your back and has the directions. Like coming down that mudslide, there is an exit, and you'll ride it out and you'll be fine. But you got to let go, and you got to keep your wits about you, and you got to think positively as you're riding down that side of the hill. Okay, I see a possible exit right out the bottom there, and I'm just going to sort of roll with it and be over there. So that kind of positive thinking, athletes have been using it. We know of the power of the positive thinking, but we're so quick to just let the fear-based energy run the room. And that's what I was saying yesterday, that I just was feeling the pain of it yesterday, so I was a little more dramatic about it. But anyway, it's a tricky one to say. You say it to somebody who's in that fear mode, and they're like, wait, let me tell you the statistics about what's going on. Let me tell you about the suffering. You're so unsympathetic. And it's like, it's not being sympathetic to give up my potential vision and my good that I can do for myself and others around me and how I can bring people up, because I'm going to spend all my time talking somebody out of their fear base, which I may or may not ever do. But that process is something I'm still working on. We're all still working on. So it's sort of like put the mask on yourself and then others. It's like that's all I'm asking. I'm not saying disregard people, but I just feel like if you've got a good sense of the well-being of the planet and the potential good of this scenario, then step up, speak up, and show the love. And that'll be more inspiration to the people. So there again, just stay within. Keep connecting to your sense of well-being, and the inspiration will come to you. And maybe for a while you'll be like, I don't feel anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the exit strategy. I don't see how this is going to be good. But just hold, and don't expect other people to validate your feeling of things going well. So anyway, I think that's all I got to say about that. It's kind of a recap on yesterday, and tomorrow's another day, so we'll get back to the same topic we're always talking about: loving yourself. Go within, love yourself, see the perfection of who you are. Then you'll have the strength to bring out the best version of who you are. Your highest version, your highest vision of who you think you could possibly ever be is what you want to be chasing right now. Whether it's because there's a coronavirus or not, if things are difficult, they're always going to. There's more difficulties coming, more change coming, more interrupters coming. And work on your ability to sort of say, you know what? I'm not going to focus on the problem. I'm going to focus on the solution. Anyway, that's it. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.